The rich mountains and fertile plains of the Iberian Peninsula were under Roman occupation for close to 600 years. But it took the mighty Romans 200 years and thousands of lives to fully conquer this land. The Roman conquest of Hispania started in the Second Punic War, where Publius Cornelius Scipio waged war on the Carthaginians, fully expelling the latter from Iberia. In 201 BC, by the end of the war, the Iberian Peninsula was divided between the Romans, Greeks, and several Celtic, Galatian, Celtiberian, and Iberian tribes. Among these tribes, there was a Celtiberian tribe named the Lusitani. Their lands ranged from the Tagus River in the south to the Douro River in the north. The Lusitanians were hostile to Roman occupation and would soon start fighting the invaders to guarantee their independence. Their most successful attempt at repelling the Romans started in 148 BC during the Lusitanian Wars. Under the rule of a simple shepherd, the Lusitanians and their allies went on to defeat all 5 generals sent by the Senate. The Lusitanian Wars started in 155 BC. Under Punicus and later Caesarus, both warlords of the Lusitani, the tribe scored major victories. But the tide of war would soon turn when the Romans conquered the largest Lusitanian settlement, Oxtracae. In 152 BC, peace was signed between the Romans and the Lusitani, but this was short-lived. During the winter of the same year, the Lusitani rose up arms again, raiding and besieging Roman subjects. Servius Galba, the praetor of Hispania, rushed in to relieve the besieged towns, but he himself was defeated. He regrouped his men, and after the winter of 151 BC, he joined another Roman force that was stationed in Turdetania and invaded Lusitania in 150 BC. As a result of the invasion, the Lusitanian leaders sued for peace. Servius Galba accepted the peace offering and promised the Lusitanian chieftains fertile lands. Galba invited them to their newly promised lands. He divided the tribesmen into several contingents and asked them to lay down their arms. This was a trap. The Lusitanians were ambushed and slaughtered. 8,000 men died and 20,000 others were imprisoned and later sold into slavery. But Galba made one mistake. A few Lusitanian men managed to escape the ambush, and among them was Viriatus. Viriatus is the central figure of the Lusitanian Wars. He seemingly came from an unknown family and rose through the ranks of the military, eventually becoming a leader of men. Today, we believe that Viriatus belongs to an aristocratic clan of shepherds from a region in central Portugal, close to Serra da Estrela. Viriatus is described at the time as being at peak physical condition, an excellent fighter and a brilliant strategist. His first great victory was at the town of Tribola, near modern-day Ronda, in the south of Spain. 1 year after Galba's massacre in 149 BC, a coalition of tribes launched an invasion, 10,000 strong, of Roman-occupied Turdetania. Among these men was Viriatus. Rome sent Gaius Vetilius and 10,000 soldiers to fight the barbarian army. Vetilius was a capable general and was able to maneuver the Lusitanian army into a precarious position. The Romans, looking to win the day without bloodshed, sent a peace offering. By then, Viriatus was already an officer in the army and held some sway over important decisions. He reminded the Lusitanians of the massacre that had happened a year earlier, a massacre from which Viriatus himself had barely escaped from. He reasoned that a treaty with Rome could not be trusted. The Lusitanian army stood by Viriatus and took his commands as he devised a cunning plan. The men drew a battle line to meet the Romans, but as soon as Viriatus mounted his horse, they scattered in all directions. Viriatus stood his ground with 1,000 battle-hardened warriors, while the remaining 9,000 left the field. Vetilius didn't divide his troops to chase, and instead concentrated his efforts on attacking Viriatus. However, the Lusitanian officer had no intention to stay and fight the Romans, outnumbered 1-10. Instead, he and his men led a series of hit-and-run attacks on the front of the Roman army, retreating ever closer to the town of Tribola. This was possible due to the quality of the Iberian horses and lighter armor the Lusitanians wore. They moved faster and tired less than the Romans. After 2 days, Viriatus and his men retreated and quickly moved into the town of Tribola, where the other 9,000 men were stationed. Viriatus was hailed as the savior of the entire army and was appointed its leader. And yet there was no time to rejoice. Vitellius was furious and his army was pursuing. Viriatus held the initiative and he prepared a large-scale ambush in a valley near Tribola, in the pass of the Sierra de Ronda. He hid his forces on all sides of the valley and lured the Romans into the valley with a diversionary attack. Once the whole Roman army was in the valley, the diversionary force turned and held their ground. Suddenly, thousands of Lusitanians leapt out of the woods from all sides and clashed with the Roman flanks. The Romans held at first, but the Lusitanians fought with a passion. As the casualties mounted for the Romans, their courage faltered, and the whole army eventually broke. Many fled, but 4,000 died that day, including their general Caius Vitellius. The story goes that he was initially captured, but then cut down when his Lusitanian captor refused to believe that an old and fat man could be Rome's general. Regardless, this feat earned Viriatus great fame and renown throughout the Iberian tribes, attracting many to bolster his cause. His use of guerrilla warfare and masterful ambushes would bring him many victories, glories, and further fame, eventually allowing him to achieve a legendary status. In the words of Theodore Mommsen, it seems as if in that thoroughly prosaic age, one of the Homeric heroes had reappeared. The Battle of Tribola is most significant as it launched Viriatus in his career as the legendary leader of the Lusitanian tribes. After many battles against the Romans, he was only defeated once and held the flames of resistance until his very death in 139 BC at the hand of none other than his own companions who betrayed him for Roman dinars. It was the only way Rome was able to ultimately stop Viriatus, as he would go down in history as one of the most successful generals to have ever opposed Rome's expansion. I sincerely hope you enjoyed this journey into my homeland of Iberia and the peek into the history of one of its legendary commanders. If you did like this video then, well, I am sure you will enjoy one of these on the screen right now. Stay wonderful, Wolf out.